Hey folks, Rodney Orpheus here, coming to you on a wet Friday afternoon here in studio in London. And I have just got this new thing because I've been rewiring my studio and I just got this from ESI. It's the new M8U EX. I have absolutely no idea what those numbers and letters stand for. Presumably the M is MIDI. I have no idea what else it is, but EX sounds like it's extra big somehow. And this is it's a MIDI interface. Why am I excited about a MIDI interface? Because this one, it's a professional, I'm a pro, you know, 16-port USB 3 MIDI interface. Now, that's something you don't see every day. Why would it be USB 3? Because MIDI is really tiny amounts of data, and you can run lots of MIDI down a MIDI 1.0 thing. But what's cool about it, it's got a USB hub. Yes! That's really good. That is something I've wanted to see for ages. A MIDI interface with a USB hub on it, so that it gives me more USB ports so I can plug in my iLoks or whatever else I want to have. So this actually makes it really interesting. What's also really interesting about this is that if you look here on the box, you'll see that it just says port 1, port 2, port 3, and so on. It doesn't say what's in and out. Because according to this, it has automatic input and output detection. So the DIMS ports here can be either ins or outs depending on what you plug into it. That is weird. I'm going to be plugging that in later on and letting you guys see how that works. It's 100% class compliant, no drivers. This is wonderful. I mean, you can see a Mac there in the background, but I'm actually using Windows Box as my primary production system. I use both depending on what's happening, but Windows drivers are the bane of my existence. So 100% class compliant, USB 3, bus powered, 16 ports with a USB hub. Sounds pretty good so far. I am going to get it out of the box. Let's see what we've got in the box. So, we have a Benutzerhandbuch. Ja, es ist gut, dass ich kann auch Deutsch sprechen, ja? That is the user handbook, and it's a really thin user handbook. I wonder if it's got it in English as well, or did they just send me a German one? I mean, ESI are based in Germany, I think, so I assume that's why. Let's have a look and see. Benutzerhandbuch, ja, aber it's also got a user's guide. I like the way it flips up like that, don't you? I mean, that's a cute little touch. So, user's guide. That's actually this is the user's guide in 2 languages. It's literally that much. But at least it's paper. At least there's a paper user's guide. It's not just a PDF. And yeah, it tells you it's got a front panel, it's got a back panel. Installation, find the USB port on your computer. Yeah, I'm glad they told me that. Make sure the computer is switched on. I think I would have figured that out without you telling me, but hey. Connect the supplied USB cable between the connector on the back and USB port on your node. Driver is needed, blah, blah, blah. If your computer has both USB 3 and USB 2 ports, you'll find better performance when using a USB 3 port. Now, I have no idea. There can't be better MIDI performance on USB 3, can there? I mean, it can't. It's maybe there's lower latency or something, but bandwidth isn't a problem. But hey, whatever. It's all good. Usage application, standalone operation. Oh, standalone operation? Oh, you just have to put a 5-volt DC power supply in. Oh, right. Well, at least it's a 5-volt DC and not something weird like 12 volts or whatever, because, you know, USB is 5 volts. So I've often wondered why people have a USB bus powered system on 5 volts, and then you need a 9-volt power adapter to actually run it without it. It makes no sense to me at all. Oh, you can use multiple units on one computer by setting a dip switch. Okay, well, I mean, that's not convenient, but it'll work. Okay, that was pretty much the entire user handbook you just heard. Let's see what else we've got. Oh, we do actually have a power supply, complete with multiple adapters for different types of power, which is good, except everything's wrapped in plastic. Why do people insist on wrapping everything in freaking plastic? I mean, you could have just threw these in the box without the plastic bags. Let's get real. I mean, this is just complete waste. But, you know, whatever. It's not as bad as some. And there's also a USB cable, also individually wrapped for your protection. And then there's this thing. This is the box itself. It's quite small and light. That's annoying. It's not a 19-inch rack unit. There's no rack ears. I wanted to put it in my rack. I mean, I can still get it in my rack, I assume. Yeah, it looks like it's about a 2/3 rack format. So that's going to be a little bit awkward. I can stick it in the bottom of the rack. No, it'll work. Maybe they make a rack mounting kit for it. I'll check that out later. And it's also individually plastic wrapped as well, just to be sure. Seriously, guys. I can't stand the amount of waste I get with these things. Just put it in a cardboard box. Put some cardboard around it. It's not that big a problem. Anyway, but okay, this it's kind of beautiful, I have to say. Look at this. Look at this. It's like brushed bronze metallic feel. It's really gorgeous, actually. I mean, I don't know if it's really going to come across. Maybe you can see that grain. It's not going to come out too well on the camera, but it's actually kind of beautiful. This is serious industrial design, guys. It's beautiful. It feels gorgeous. It looks gorgeous. I mean, look at that shiny, bronzy kind of vibe to it. That is fabulous. I love this color. It just screams class. And this is weird. See this front panel? Check it out. It's not flat. It's actually concave. See that? The front panel is actually concave, and that, I mean, completely no point to it, but it's just, and it must be a little bit more expensive to do that way, but it actually gives it even more of a classy feel. It just, you see the way it looks really freaking cool because of that, because all the light glints in a different way. You know, okay, I can see some people are going, oh my god, he's raving about how a MIDI interface looks, but I like cool shit. I like things that look nice. That's why I've got a Blofeld back there, and you know, I like stuff that looks good. It's a little bit classy. Not sure what the status and mode button here does for, but I'm sure we'll find it out later. We've got 8 ports at the front, which can be either in and out apparently, and then we've got some status lights here. I'm sure we'll see what those do when we light it up. But let's look at where the real magic happens on the back port. So on the back port we've got another, ports 7 to 16, another 8 MIDI ports, which can be either in or out. And I like that because, you know, I need a lot of outputs, but I don't need that many inputs usually. So if I get a typical interface got 8 in, 8 out, I'll use 8 outs and maybe 3 ins, and then the other 5 input ports are just sitting there doing nothing. In this case, I could use 3 ins and have 13 outputs. I've had 3 ins and 13 out. That's actually kind of cool. That makes it a much more valuable. The value proposition is great. Then we have a USB 3 connector there, host connector that goes to your computer presumably, and then we have the magic three USB 3.0 ports. I like that a lot. That is very, very, very cool. So we have a USB hub right on there. And even a Kensington lock at the end. And that's our 5 volt? Yeah, DC 5 volts. Okay, I'm liking this. So what I'm going to do is I am going to stick this in the rack now, or put it in the bottom of my rack, whatever, and plug a lot of MIDI cables into it and see what happens. Let's see. Alright, so it's now a few days later since my last video. I've plugged the device in here and been using it for a few days to check it out. And I originally thought that this was going to be the longest part of the video, but it's actually going to be the shortest because it just works. I literally plugged in USB cable here in the back, plugged the other end of it into my computer over there, and that was it. It just worked. No software needed to be installed, no configuration, nothing. Just plug it in and it worked. It just came up inside my computer. I plugged in a bunch of synthesizers. You can see the DIN cables here. And that was it as well. They immediately auto-configured. The promise that it would auto-configure absolutely works. It automatically recognizes which one is a MIDI in and which one is a MIDI out. And you can see in this control panel on the front here, it knows which ones are in and which ones are out. If I play my keyboard here, you can see it's going in that one and out of that one. Simple as that. Dead easy. It's actually kind of magical the way it does it. It's remarkable that you don't need to do anything. It just does everything for you. It's really great. I've also got the power supply in the back here. As far as I know, it's bus powered, but I put the power supply in just to be sure it'll be 100%. And the 3-port USB hub that I mentioned when I was unboxing it is here. I've got an iLock in there. I've got another USB key that I'm using for my Waves copy protection. So I'm just using this for my dongles at the moment. It's perfect for music dongles because when I want to do music in my system, I just turn it on and everything's right there. But it is a USB 3 hub, so you can easily add anything else you want to this. You can put in other USB synthesizer devices, controllers, whatever you want to do. So that is really, really handy. I mean, in this small, what's about a 2/3 U, you've got so much potential. It's incredible how much is packed into this little thing. Oh, and you even get, look at this, you even get a paper handbook. Remarkable, in English and in German. A paper manual for something that, I mean, this is remarkably, because a lot of hardware you buy these days is quite complex, and they don't give you any manual. You've got to like get a PDF or whatever. This is the simplest thing I've ever seen, and they even give you a paper manual. Now, admittedly, it's very thin. It's literally 3 pages. That's all there is to it. And it's, hey, look, you've got an interface. But it is handy because you've got things here which I didn't realize. Standalone operation. So you can use this as a standalone operation. It can act as MIDI pass-through, MIDI through, MIDI merging, all available in that. So actually kind of useful for live use if that's what you need. But this is also important. I didn't realize this. There are additional options on dip switches. Okay, I didn't even see the dip switches the first time I looked at this because they're so small. But on the bottom, there's a dip switch thing. And the first dip switch allows you to select if you've got multiple units. So maybe you need more than your 16 ports on this. If you have 2 units, you can set a dip switch to say which is unit 1, which is unit 2. So effectively, you can stack them into 32 ports, which is great. Dip switch 2 turns off MIDI running status, which is probably not necessary. But dip switch 3 is the weird one, because even though this is a USB 3 interface and has a USB 3 port on the back, by default it comes out of the box configured as a USB 2 device, which is strange. Now, I kind of get the logic of this. If someone's got a very old computer that doesn't support USB 3, it's fully compatible because it comes out of the box as USB 2. But let's face it, most people these days have USB 3 and want USB 3 and really want a USB 3 hub. So when you take it out of the box, you're not getting a USB 3 hub. You've got to change the dip switch. So I need to go to dip switch 3. Here are my little dip switches at the bottom here. And I need to, let's get a little tool. And there are 3 dip switches, and they're quite deeply embedded in there. But if I flick on, it's numbered from that way. So it's the one on the far left, needs to go from off to on. So when I switch that dip switch to on, now this is finally working as a USB 3 interface instead of a USB 2 one, which is what I want. And yeah, I do find it, like I say, very, very strange, especially because, yeah, sure, there are a lot of old computers out there that are only using USB 2, but how many people are using that for a high-speed multi-port MIDI interface and still don't have USB 3? I think very few people. So that's one thing I would change that default to be on rather than off. But hey, it's a minor thing. Like I say, it's not going to make any difference whatsoever to the function of the interface as such, because MIDI is a very old protocol and uses tiny, tiny, tiny amounts of data So it won't make any difference whatsoever to the MIDI operation, whether this is set in USB 2 or USB 3. It will only make a difference really to anything you've got plugged in, any USB gear you've got plugged in the back. But yeah, that's a very small caveat you've got to watch out for. But apart from that, this thing is fantastic. I absolutely love it. Incredible MIDI interface. I've had it working here in the studio, working on a new album with it. Got a bunch of different synths plugged in and out. It just works every single time, every day. Totally reliable, no configuration. It's just there. It just does what it needs to do and gets the hell out of the way, which is what I want in a MIDI interface. I don't have to think about it or care about it. And it's going to be great when if I've got another production coming in here, bringing another band who have their own synthesizers or controllers or whatever. They can just plug straight in the front, and it's done. Simple as that. Dead easy. So yeah, this is a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant MIDI interface. My favorite MIDI interface I've ever used by far. I have to recommend it wholeheartedly. This is staying here. It's definitely not being sent back. This one is going to be the studio interface for me from now on. So yeah, easy. M8U EX. 2 thumbs up.